Here today in Agecroft Cemetery, Salford. I'm at the memorial stone for the crew of the Lancaster Bomber PB304, which crashed on the 30th of July 1944. This Sunday will be the 79th anniversary of the crash. I'd like to tell you about the events of that day, 30th of July. Now, the Lancaster Bomber took off from RAF Metheringham in Lincolnshire at 5 to 6 in the morning. It was due to fly to Normandy to bomb German positions there. This was just following D-Day. Now, there was bad cloud, low cloud, the weather conditions weren't right, they couldn't drop the bombs. Now, they couldn't jettison the bombs in the English Channel because of all the Allied shipping below. And they were forbidden to drop bombs over England with a full bomb load. So they had to fly around the coast navigating the way. And for some reason they ended up in Blackpool, not a day out obviously, and they turned around to come back to Manchester. Now, it was reported that the plane had possibly been hit by flak and it was having engine troubles. It was seeing stalling and coughing, spluttering. It came over down by Langley Road over there. It went over Regatta Street. Now, the pilot was trying to get to Littleton Road playing fields. One of the crew members was from Pendlebury and he was possibly navigating him, showing him the way. They did a failed landing, they came back, circled again, went across Regatta Street, and sadly the wings clipped the chimneys on the houses there. This caused the plane to lose control and it crashed into the banking of the River Irwell. And there must have been, for the crew members, an agonising wait because it was 30 seconds before the full cargo load exploded, killing them instantly. It also injured 300 people on the ground and killed 3 civilians. They didn't die instantly, they were to die later on from their injuries, which I'll tell you about. It must have been I've tried to visualise the sight and sound of a Lancaster Bomber flying, say, 30, 40 feet above your head. It must have been frightening. I know the explosion was heard all over Salford, and I've read reports of it. It must have been a horrendous day. But I'd like to take you now to Regatta Street and we'll show you where the plane clipped the chimneys and also the devastation caused in that area. And we'll have a look at the canal bank in Agecroft where the plane crashed. I'm here now on Regatta Street, not far obviously from the Agecroft Cemetery. Behind me was a house where the Lancaster Bomber, its wing clipped the chimney stacks, causing it to crash obviously. The Lancaster Bomber went over that way before crashing into the banks of the Irwell. Now, as I say, the full cargo load exploded. There was 300 people injured. That house was obviously, all these houses, I've seen photographs of them, all the windows smashed, roofs, slates, tiles have gone, everything. I can only imagine the explosion. It was, yeah. Anyway, as I say, there was 3 civilians killed that day. And a lot of people say it was 2, but one died 2 years later than that. I'd just like to mention the names. They were George Morris, who was aged 45, an ARP warden. Lucy Bamford, aged 72. I'll come back to Lucy in a minute. And John Alfred Reeves, who died of his injuries in 1946. So that was 10 people in total, 300 injured. But standing in the street, it's hard to imagine that what had happened. I know it was 79 years ago, but the sight of a Lancaster Bomber flying over and clipping the chimneys, it's scary, isn't it? As I mentioned, all 7 crew members died. I'd just like to mention their names, they're worth a mention obviously. The pilot was a chap called Peter Lynes. The wireless operator was Arthur Young, who was of Afro-Caribbean descent. The rear gunner was a chap called Sergeant Mohammed Singh. Now, I've seen photographs of him wearing a turban, so he was obviously a Sikh. The flight engineer was Raymond Barnes. Now, he was from Pendlebury, and it was thought that he helped the pilot, Mr. Lynes, navigate his way to Littleton Road playing fields with him living local. The mid-rear gunner was a chap called Sergeant John Davenport. The bomb aimer was John Steele. Now, John Steele had written in his letters home that he had a premonition of his death. He feared that he was going to die on this plane, and he was proved right, wasn't he? And also Flying Officer Harry Reid, he was the last of the men to die. I mentioned Lucy Bamford, who died. Now her grandson Joe Bamford is a noted military historian. He's written some fabulous books. Now Joe has written the definitive account of what happened on this day. It's called the Salford Lancaster, and I would urge you to read it. Now the memorial service is this Sunday coming, and it'd be nice if you could turn up. The mayor will be there, there'll be local dignitaries, there'll be bands, there'll be people paying the respects to these 7 brave men who died in Salford, fighting for Salford and fighting for us basically. So let's not forget them, and let's not forget the 3 civilians who died. So that's the story of the Salford Lancaster Bomber. Thank you.